Welcome back to my channel. Thank you, customer, for complaining and mean it. Most will never bother to complain, they'll just walk away. This quote tells us a lot about how customers complain and how feedback is important. My name is Ms. Prachivani, and today we will talk about importance of service recovery. Now, service recovery is an umbrella term for systematic efforts by a firm to correct a problem following a service failure and retain a customer's goodwill. Now, service recovery plays a very crucial part in achieving customer satisfaction. In every firm, things may occur that have a negative impact on its relationship with customers. But it is very important to have a proper way to respond to customers when things go wrong. So when we talk about effective service recovery, it requires thoughtful procedure for resolving problems and handling unhappy customers. It's critical for firms to have an effective recovery strategies because under the following three conditions, even a small incident can destroy customers' confidence or faith in a firm. The first condition is the failure is totally outrageous. The second condition could be the problem fits a pattern of failure rather than being an isolated incident. So we are talking about repeat problems or repeat incidents which are hampering the customer satisfaction. And the recovery efforts are very weak. Impact of effective service recovery on customer loyalty. Now, when complaints are satisfactorily resolved, the customers who are involved are more likely to remain loyal. Now, the complaint handling process should be seen as a profit center and not as a cost center. So, let us understand what service recovery paradox is. This means sometimes it is observed that customers who experience a service failure and then have it resolved to their full satisfaction are more likely to make future purchases than are the customers who have no problem in the first place. So, we are actually saying people or customers who have a problem with the kind of experience they have shared or the kind of experience they have had with the firm, after we solving their problem, they will come back to the same firm. But one thing to remember that this is not entirely true. The satisfaction post service recovery depends on how severe was the problem. Like, for example, in a restaurant, if you are serving a wrong preparation instead of what guest has ordered, you can definitely correct the same problem by getting the right preparation and serving it to the guest. But something or somewhere where you have a customer whose holiday was ruined because of a very, very bad experience, that certainly cannot be replaced. Now, the principles of effective service recovery system. Recognizing that current customers are an asset base, managers need to develop effective procedures for service recovery following the unsatisfactory experience. These are the three principles. The first thing is remember, make it easy for customers to share their feedback. Second is to have very effective service recovery system. The third one is make sure we have an appropriate compensation levels. One more quote which says the biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand. We only listen to reply. So we're going to understand the components of an effective service recovery system. The first thumb rule we have to keep it in mind is do the job right the first time. If you do that, then there is absolutely no chance that we will get complaints. But let's be honest, it's not going to be practical all the time. Now, if you look at this, this is actually something which is adopted by a theory which was published in 1998. We are looking at do the job right the first time. When you do that, we also have to understand that you might face a complaint, but we have to remember that the complaint handling has to be super effective. That is going to increase satisfaction and loyalty. Identifying service complaints, resolving complaints effectively, and learning from the recovery experience is something which will help us to close the loop. So, conducting a research, monitoring complaints, developing complaints as opportunity culture is going to help identify the service complaints. Developing effective system and training in complaint handling is going to resolve complaints effectively. And when you conduct root cause analysis, when you actually think about how the problem occurred, that is going to help in learning from the recovery experience. Now, recovering from service failures takes more than dedicated expressions of determination to resolve any problem that may occur. It requires commitment, planning, and clear guidelines. Effective service recovery should be proactive, planned, trained, and empowered. Now, let us understand this one by one. So, when we say service recovery has to be proactive, that means service recovery needs to start on the spot, the minute you identify a problem. Service personnel should be trained to sign the dissatisfaction. Service recovery should be planned. Now, the contingency plan should be developed whenever we talk about service failures. So, for example, revenue management practices in the travel and hospitality will lead to overbooking. So, have a contingency plan in that case. So, it's important to identify the common service problems to develop predetermined solutions for employees to follow. So, the employees who are working in a hotel should know if overbooking happens, what could be the next plan. Training is very important. Customers easily feel insecure at the point of service failure because things are not turning out as anticipated. So, effective training gives confidence to employees to delight the guest by offering the right solution. So, in the end, we are looking at unsatisfied customer turning into satisfied customer. And service recovery should be empowered. Service recovery efforts should be flexible, and employees should be allowed to use their judgment and communication skills to develop solutions to solve the customer's complaint. Employees need to have the authority to make decisions and spend money in order to resolve the service problem as soon as possible. Now, if you are looking at giving compensation to your guest for a service failure, what needs to be kept in mind? The first thing is, what is the firm's position and how much compensation should a firm offer when there is a service failure? Also think, will only an apology be sufficient? So remember, the first rule of thumb is what is the firm's marketing position, how severe was the service failure, and who is affected customer. So let me give you an example. Now, when we say what is the firm's marketing position, if you are visiting a Michelin star restaurant or if you're visiting a very expensive fine dining restaurant, and if you get a wrong order on your table, you're definitely going to get upset. But a fair compensation in this case would be a right preparation, and maybe it will be given to you free of charge. Now that is acceptable because you are looking at a Michelin star or a expensive fine dining restaurant. So you have to keep your customer happy. Now the same thing if you go for maybe a coffee in any of the restaurant, you might not expect another coffee at no price. How critical was the service failure? Now, wrong order of a particular preparation is still acceptable. But let's say if you are booking a function in one of the banquet hall, and if the wrong date is entered and you realize it that it's a major service failure, there is no solution for it, and it's a major mistake. So then the compensation has to be thought very carefully. Who is affected? Now this question needs to be answered. If you have a repeated customer who is not getting the service as promised, then indeed he might not come back to you, or he will get upset with the entire service experience that he has faced. Now, in that case, the compensation has to be something that will keep the customer happy and he will come back to the restaurant. Let us also remember that overly generous compensation is expensive but may get negatively interpreted by the customer. It may raise questions about the firm's intention to rectify the problem. It can also lead customers to become suspicious about the underlying motives, and this might not help in getting the repeat customers. On that note, a quiz link is given in the video description. Please go ahead and attempt the quiz. Do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And on that note, thank you, and I will see you for the next session.